we act as if we're in a vacuum, that we're so different. Normal business doesn't apply, normal things don't apply, but they do.
You never want to feel like a bit of an idiot. You know, you always
Never.
want to feel comfortable. And so a well-designed journey means you don't feel that at all.
Sure, you could have somewhat the best technology stack in the world, but when you go to a restaurant and someone remembers your name and your wife's or your kids, they go above and beyond. It's those things that matter that I think in health and wellness, we could do a better job.
On this show, we've talked about 5-star service and experiences at length. But today we're going to talk about something a little bit different, which is 5-star gym design. And we have the perfect guest for this. Chris Howell of SPX Gym Design has created some of the world's most stunning gyms with Soho House, One Hotel, Proper Hotel, Hilton, all hospitality brands that you've heard of. Also some boutiques as well, such as Rumble Boxing. Of course, we've had Andy Stern, one of the co-founders of Rumble Boxing, speaking about the experience side. So it's great to get another angle today from Chris Howell. I've been following Chris for a long time on LinkedIn. He posts a lot of awesome content on how he creates the world's most stunning gyms. So really excited to get into this today. Chris, I want to go back to the beginning. How did you first get into gym design?
Yeah, man. Well, Jack, thanks for having me, man. I'm really excited to be here with you. I didn't go to college or university to study gym design. I'll tell you that much. I actually graduated from a school in Long Island called Hofstra. I played lacrosse there. I graduated with economics and philosophy. I ended up working on Wall Street for a few years. Wasn't for me, but I really liked fitness, and but I also enjoyed business as well. And so I didn't know how to strike the balance. So I kind of left that job. I was doing cold calling sales. I was doing personal training, just trying to figure it out. And then eventually I was contracted to work through like a group fitness concept for Soho House. And that's kind of like the beginning of it, because I was exposed to more like design. And then I got roped into more of the gyms and wellness initiatives with Soho House and working with their architects and designers. And then I got really introduced into kind of pushing the limit on equipment, because they wanted stuff that was like amazing. And so I like really geeked out on that. And so, yeah, and then I started SPX during that time. And so, yeah, Soho House was kind of like the first client.
Let me dig into that a little bit. When did you start with Soho House?
Probably 2016, early 17.
Okay.
So it was right when, like, I'm just going to name a few houses that we were working on at the time, which was interesting because it was like a 3-year push. So we were doing layouts for Soho House Hong Kong, like in 2017. And then, you know, we did Mumbai, Amsterdam, downtown Los Angeles, renovation of Miami Beach House, a bunch of houses in UK, like White City. Really had a lot of exposure to the architecture and design. And then I would fly out and basically live on site for like 30 to 45 days. So I was in Mumbai for Diwali for like 45 days. It was insane. And I would go there and try to open up these houses, hiring general managers, AGMs, running like PT programs of like, hey, here's how we're going to onboard somebody, group fitness concept. So it was an incredible experience during my like mid late 20s. I got to see everything from like concept, what was the goal of what we were trying to do, how were we going to integrate with the culture, and equipment selection, and then even just, you know, executing on all of that, and then getting there and handling pre-opening operations as well.
Nice. I mean, I would say 2016, 2017 is kind of a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of hospitality, really investing in fitness experiences. So do you think this played a big part in Soho House, you know, really being the brand that it is? Do you think it really helped to elevate their experience by investing in this early?
I think it was a testament to like Nick Jones and Mark Kuzmarski of like, they just wanted to push the envelope, and they knew hospitality, but I think they had a good sense of what was coming and they needed to address it. Like, I'm sure that those two would both be the first to say that they aren't the fitness gurus, but they knew what people liked and enjoyed. And I think from a business perspective, a healthier member is a consuming member, right? So if they're up at 7 a.m., maybe they go to the pool, they'll attend brunch, and then they'll start their day there on property earlier, increasing the dwell time and spend. So I think they were really paramount into pushing the hospitality industry to step up the game, because if you stayed at a Soho House hotel and you went to the gym and then you stayed at, you know, some other hotel, and you'd be like, why can't
Something's
people be
missing.
like them? You know?
Yep.
So it was really, really exciting to be a part of, and a lot of growing pains. Again, like pushing the standard of the industry. And I fell in love with that.
Nice. Wait, did you stay at Soho House as a guest, like a hotel guest?
Oh, I mean, when I would go and stay on property, sometimes the hotels weren't technically set up, but like I would be part of like the stress test. So like I would
Nice.
go, so you would have like head of gym or head of cafe or head of rooms. And so all these people were there usually from the UK, like helping open up pre-opening operations. So I'd go down to the cafe and I'd be like, hey, can I get a, coffee or Americano or something? And you'd see a guy there training and like making it up. And we would do the same thing. We would take the chef and be like, hey, do you want to come down and do a personal training session and like give us some feedback?
Cool.
So I would stay there and be a part of the experience of like onboarding and seeing like the hiccups and how they solved it. And it's really exciting. So, and then, yeah, there's handful of times I would stay at a house with my wife. We traveled around and stayed at a few of them as well.
Nice, because a big part of the Fit Guide, well, really the essence of it is infusing the very best of hospitality, 5-star hospitality into the fitness industry. So I'm interested, Chris, as a guest, experiencing that and seeing that, did that kind of give you inspiration to what you were doing at the fitness and the levels that you had to bring it to? Did they kind of complement each other?
Yes. Martin was key as like operationally and from a hospitality perspective. Like he wanted everything about the gym to meet the standard of everywhere else in the club. So instead of being like someone being there waiting for you to come in and scan your phone and go in, he wanted it to be more intimate. They wanted to be like, hey, Jack, how are you? How's your son? You know, it's like, oh man, you know who I am. Like when you go to other places, you're doing that scanning thing. And you're like, hey, how do you know my name? Hey, that's just what we do here. It's just, it was a great standard of hospitality that they carried over, and it inspired me to look into adjacent industries for more inspiration and borrow things and bring them in. I think in health and wellness, we act as if we're in a vacuum, that we're so different. Normal business doesn't apply. Normal things don't apply, but they do. So even in gym equipment, you see like we pull a lot of inspiration from automotive and bringing it. Like the clear coat steel or the upholstery choices and things like that. And then same with hospitality. It's like, sure, you could have somewhat the best technology stack in the world, but when you go to a restaurant and someone remembers your name and your wife's or your kids and they go above and beyond, then it's like, I'm going to this restaurant for the rest of my life. I'm never, it's those things that matter, that I think in health and wellness, we could do a better job and look at adjacent industries and borrow and instill these concepts. So
100%. I mean, that's really what the Fit Guide and what this podcast is about. So yeah, really it's cool to hear you talk about that. Can you tell us about maybe 3 of your favorite projects for whatever reason, maybe a big one, maybe a small one, and then maybe some of the little inspiration that you might have taken from, say, hospitality or automotive or any other industry?
The Soho House obviously was a great experience. Just overlapped a lot of those things. I really enjoyed working with one hotel. I think they came up right after. We worked with them on a few of their gyms. And again, they came out and were like, okay, we're going to raise the bar as well. And so it was fun to work with them, and a little bit more. And this, I would say it's not just them. It was more of the hospitality industry in general. It was like, hey, listen, let's get away from 5 through 50 pounds or, up to, 25 so kilos. It was like, let's step it up a little bit. We're going to introduce a half rack. I had someone be like, well, what about the insurance? I go, what do you mean insurance? Like if they're in the gym, they're going to get hurt. We should be solving this as like, this is not just the half rack is like a dangerous animal. So like there was that, like at one point, like people were like, did not want to put half racks into a hotel gym. But yeah, so we did a lot of the luxury hospitality. So the Soho House and one hotel like that. And then multifamilies was something I was really excited about as well. So like apartment buildings or condo gyms, that was something that felt like very lackluster as well. It was like a ticked off amenity, but you still had third place, Equinox membership. But if you lived in a luxury building, it kind of it fractured. Same as hotels, right? You're paying $1,000 a night and the gym's not good. It's like, come on, what are we doing? So we started working with a couple multifamilies that were really exciting. One with like Irby that's in New York area as well, that they just, started introducing turf into an apartment gym, right? So it's things like that were really exciting for me to see other operators and developers being like, we're going to step it up here. And so now it's like standard. I feel like it's so for us, we have to keep pushing like what's next and integrate it in.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. In Asia, it's seeing so much more of this. We get contacted a lot by people that want a base in their hotel or their resort or their condo gym or whatever it might be. And so you can see it shifting here. US is usually quite ahead of the curve. Is it just standard now to have a sick gym? I remember traveling years ago and you'd get like literally 2 to 10 dumbbells, 2 to 10 kg maybe, or pounds in the US, a treadmill, an elliptical, and that was pretty much it.
You can find, if you're going to look and book a hotel, which I don't think a lot of people did in the past, when you go book a hotel, sometimes you be like, hey, before I book this thing, let me just type in the hotel name and gym into Google and see what comes up. There's a good chance that you'll find something in the area that has a good gym, a hotel that has a good gym. I wouldn't say it's like blanket statement, but I think the hospitality industry know it's important. Like wellness is an important considered purchase factor for people now. So, that's why you see like Proper like doing super well. It's like one of the main reviews on their Google reviews is like, food was great, room was awesome, gym was phenomenal, right? It's like people will book on that. So it's, there's still a lot of room to grow, but it's definitely better than probably what you were experiencing over when you were over here before. Yeah. Some of the ones you posted look insane, and I think for me now and for a lot of people, it's a big consideration, right? You want like at least a certain level within the gym, and if it's extra special, it really is a true differentiator in a market that's hard to differentiate in. So I think in a lot of markets, if you have a great gym, especially here in Asia, you really do stand out, and the gyms I've seen in Asia that have done that well are definitely doing well. Let's talk for a moment of people who are looking to build a facility, design a facility. I want to kind of look at sort of basic and then elevated. First of all, basic. What are the absolute fundamentals that just every hotel gym should have? It's an interesting consumer because you're getting a mix of like trained folks, and you're getting a lot of people that are like beginners, or they even start their fitness journey on vacation, right? So, there's tons of people that, you know what, today I'm going to go for a run. I never go for a run, but you're out of your routine. So you start trying new things. So I think it's being important to be aware of like consumer behavior of your demographic, which is a mixed use. So a lot of times in hospitality, it's selectorized equipment. So it's like, do you have a chest press? Do you have a shoulder press? Do you have like, dual, like a leg extension? If you can't, like, can you 2-in-1 it into a dual leg? Your leg press, things like that. Like we call it at SPX, like we call it like the core sweep. Like you have to have those things, because if you go in there, it's like building a gym. You have everything but no treadmills. You're missing the main ingredient, and that's what everyone notices. Now, if you cover all the bases and you forget resistance bands, it's like, well, I can work around this stuff. And then plus it's like low-hanging fruit to just order that and get it on site. So we really opt for like selectorized equipment because it's intuitive. A trained user can use it, and someone that's beginning isn't going to be like, wait, I have to plate load and do these things and how to figure it out. And it's quite intimidating sometimes, especially being in a new gym. And then you're like, oh, use this new piece of equipment. And if there's room for other opportunity, that's where we'll try to drive like the last 5 or 10% and be like, whoa, is that a belt squat? Like something that would resonate and be like a little bit more seen in commercial spaces.
Okay. So when you've got a bit of a larger space, and what would you say? What's standard in terms of space for like a hotel gym, let's say? Like what would kind of be roughly the kind of space that you've got to work with?
This is a question that we ask how people got there. So it's funny that you're asking me. So sometimes we'll get a plan and it'll be like, hey, we have, this gym, it's 1,500 square feet. And I'll be like, how did you decide this? And they're like, well, it was kind of what was left over. And I'll say, how many keys do you have? And they're like, we have 300 keys. Okay. And how important is this to you? They're like, oh, we're building the entire brand on the fitness amenity. Okay, let's make some adjustments here. So there's a couple of things we do. One is we try to understand how many keys are in the hotel or units in the building, and then we try to back into, hey, here's what we would anticipate footfall to be per day. So that's something that we'll do when we're addressing the square foot things.
Do you have a rough formula for square feet, or divided by 10 per square meters per guest?
Usually we'll for like high end, super high end experience, like we'll try to target anywhere between 65 and 85 square feet per user. Now that doesn't mean like 50 can't work. It's just going to be, it's going to contract. So if you look at the time horizon of your day and you're only getting to like 65 square feet per user, even on off peak times, that's where like you kind of reassess like what you're doing, because it's going to be busy. It's going to be a little bit packed in there. So that's typically what we'll do. And then if it ratchets up, say you're like, hey, we have 125 square feet per user, then you can either add more keys, or you can open up maybe a membership or a local membership to compress the square footage per user. So there's a
which is
revenue
becoming quite popular now, right?
Oh yeah. Which in hotels, it was just a sunk cost. You're like, hey, we got a gym. There's no realized revenue on it. But now you can invest in the square footage. Let me back up. Mainly, I'm doing sales in 2018 for a hotel, and they'd be like, nah, we're just going to throw another room in there, right? So if you can see what the ADR versus a lifetime value of a recurring membership customer, local membership to use the gym, you can fit more people in the gym than that one room. Does that make sense? So you can fit like 20 people that are all going to pay $200 a month in that same room, where that person is person's going to stay in the room is only going to be occupied 65% if you're like average, 75% if you're pretty good operator or booking. So it's like you can math this out. And then if the hotel, you know this, if you're staying in a hotel next to the gym, most undesirable room in the property. So it's just, there's a lot more that you can do now, that it's not like, hey, it's not going to make money. It's like you're choosing to not make money. You're not being open-minded. You could make a lot of money. You're just choosing not to.
And of course, it's a bigger draw to fill up the rest of the rooms as well, right? And it feels like there's just been a big shift over the last 10 years of really seeing it a different way. It took a while for hospitality to get in. It feels like that's kind of shifting and changing. Let's look at the more exciting part then. We kind of talked a little bit about the basics and square meters or square feet in the US. What about the real elevated experience, the real 5-star stuff, when you've got a operator who's like, we've got a bit more space, we've got a bit more money. Maybe they haven't even done the plans yet. So they said, look, Chris, how much space do we need to do something really, really special? Tell me a little bit about some of the things you do to make something truly world-class.
Yeah. So one is like, we're not reinventing the wheel. That's also like quite important, I think. It'll come down, we'll run that kind of the same operational like kind of questions that we just talked about. And then we'll be like, what's your ideal like scenario here? What do you want look and feel? What do you like? What do you see these like guests doing here or local members doing here? Like, what are you excited about? And we'll run like a comp analysis too, see what's going on in this area. But one is we want to check all the boxes so that people won't walk in and be like, missing cool looking space, but they don't have any weights higher than 25 pounds, or there's, the treadmills seem a little bottom of the barrel. So like we want to allocate budget to these high touch experiences that people will touch, use, talk about. So when we're looking at budgets and stuff, we're going to reroute some of that stuff to those higher touch experiences. So that's where we'll spend more money, knowing those are going to get more photographed, shared, talked about. You asked earlier, I didn't answer your question about the looking at borrowing from like automotive and things like that. So if we're looking to like do something really special, that's where we're looking to do, for example, like for years, dumbbells and plates were all just black. And then you'd have like the Olympic plates that were like red, yellow, blues, and things like that. And so if you're trying to create something a little bit more aesthetic, the interior designer, like we'll collaborate with them, or we'll do the interior design. And so even the interior designers on our team will be like, please, let's not use green turf. Please, anything but green turf. Or can we put anything besides these colored plates? So I went around being like, hey, can we make colored plates? And nobody wanted to do it. So we basically went out and we're like, okay, if you're going to buy a, super expensive car, right? Like, a Ferrari or something, you can customize the whole thing. So if you told a manufacturer, I'd be like, hey, budget aside, can we make something happen that's special here? And everyone just said no. And so
Wow.
we went out and we created like, we went out and like made like brown dumbbells. We made like gradient different plates and things like that. And all we did to communicate was like, hey, listen, it's going to be expensive. And they're like, no, this is important to us. So,
Yeah.
so we started doing things like that, and just looked at it through a lens of like, if you're buying this like, you know, $500,000 car, you have full autonomy. So why can't we do the same thing here? That's a growing question too, because, you know, if you know how to build a Ferrari and you're just changing different upholsteries and stitchings and things like that, you do it before. What we're going through here as a firm at SPX is that we're trying to like figure all this out on the fly. So there's some things that like, hey, we're trying to make like, we just produced these like mint green urethane dumbbells. Sick. They're awesome. And we had these like mint green upholstery and stuff, all this stuff kind of teed up. But we spent a lot of time like trying to figure out what mint green upholstery would survive and be durable. So some of those take a little bit more time, but I think for us, it's important.
Nice. I want to dig into some different elements of the design. So first of all, of course, you do the equipment and you've got some custom colors and things like that. Do you go further with the actual like interior design of the actual, you know, the space, the lighting, the ceiling, even the walls? Like, how deep do you go with that? And can you give us any insights into the kind of things you do to make gyms extra special?
Yeah, we have super talented team. We have our lead designer named Bailey, and then we have a 3D artist and his group named Derek. And I will let Derek loose, and then Bailey too. And she has like such an awesome hospitality design background that we don't need everyone on our team to know everything about gym equipment, or like we don't need everyone on our team to be like gym nerds. There's enough of that with probably just me and like a few other people on our team. So we need people to kind of like, same philosophy is like, bring things from other industries that we never heard. We could teach you about gym equipment. You actually don't need to know anything about gym equipment. You just need to educate us on, hey, what's practice, like best practice from XYZ brand that you were at that was pretty interesting or cool. And so maybe they have a millwork solution for storage. Is that millwork for storage of dumbbells and kettlebells and things like that? Well, those millwork drawings exist and can be drawn. The only thing that we have to solve is the structural stability of it, to be able to hold the loads and opens for your wrist and access and things like that. That's all solvable stuff. But the concept of like, let's bring in a really unique millwork instead of a standard steel shelf is like, I think those are the things that people are like, oh, this is bespoke. This is pretty cool. So, and then, yeah, lights, paint, locker rooms, like, everything from front of house, you know, everything through the studios. Like we have the ability to do it all. And then a lot of the times we'll collaborate with interior designers. So they'll have the design intent, and then they might ask us, or like, hey, what's the best like gym flooring that you would do here if, you know, it's impact, or, hey, we want to have dance classes, but also reformer Pilates and this and that. What flooring would you recommend here? We don't want to use X, like, so, and then we'll help with all those design elements too as collaborators.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so sometimes they kind of have their own designers and a bit of an aesthetic that they want, and you just make sure that it's special in terms of the fitness side, give some input on the design side. But sometimes they want you to really handle the whole aesthetic. Lighting, can we talk about that for a moment? How do you use lighting either kind of inside the gym or maybe even as you're walking up to it to kind of create the experience?
Basically, you know, you have your overhead lighting, your backlighting mirrors and things like that people are quite popular with. But yes, like there's so many opportunities, especially in the wellness. If we're thinking about like saunas and plunges and like reflecting light off the water onto the walls, or having little fixed like illumination like that. One thing that I was just talking to about a sauna that we were looking to help design is that putting inside the perimeter of the rocks is an LED light. So when you throw the water on and the steam comes up, you see the steam is lit up. So I think things like that, but in general, like there's so many good like lighting designers and stuff like out there like that. You're just looking to make sure that the color temperature is correct, that you have like, and for gyms, down lighting, right? People love the down lighting. That's like, you know, it gives you that, even if you're out of shape, you can look like you're in shape for like at least 5 minutes. And that's, you know, so those little aspects like that. But if there's a lighting designer, it's mainly just like, hey, we don't want to interfere the overhead movements of function of people, like by dropping pennant lights or things like that. But yeah, it's a lot of the temperature and as getting as close to kind of like there's a daylight temperature, but like it's basically the daylight color, making it look like feels like you're outside, not like clinical and like a lab, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I love the idea of having kind of a little touch like lighting that illuminates the steam as you throw into the sauna,
Yeah,
like little
pretty cool.
touches like that. You're like, wow, this is kind of special. You know, there's little fine details. Flooring. You did a post recently on flooring, which was interesting. We took a while to find the right flooring for our gyms, and we found a good supplier in the end, but definitely a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
Any little insights you can give to that? What are the kind of the considerations when kitting out a gym?
For the commercial space, I think rolled rubber is the best. We typically will say like depends on the user base and like and things like that, but like half an inch to an inch, half an inch being on the very low end, 3/4 is probably pretty good. But if you're like meeting up turf and other like different flooring finishes, that's when it becomes like very it's like a little Jenga game, right? Because you have to build up to this to meet that and the turf and the rubber. But rolled rubber is great for a facility. And then, you know, there's rubber tiles, like beveled tiles that look nice. But like if you've ever rolled like a ski erg or a bench or, you know, foam rolled on a beveled tile gym floor, it's not great. But it looks good in pictures. And then for more like really tough installs, like multi-flights with no elevator, things like that, like you're not getting rolled rubber unless you're like craning it in through a window or something. So like rubber interlocking tiles that that are pretty good. But yeah, we typically will target that like that range. And then acoustic, like I think when you're on ground floor, subfloor is concrete, it's quite easy to be like, and you don't have any like adjacent tenants, you're like, oh yeah, just roll out the rubber floor, 3/4 inch, ready to rock. The question is like when you're on like floor 7 and you're trying to do a half an inch buildup, you're trying to get turf, you have guest room, hopefully you don't have guest rooms below or next to, but maybe you have a lobby, maybe you have a game area, something that will produce some noise. And then you're thinking about acoustic buildup. So now your buildup isn't just 3/4, it's like 1 3/4 or even more, like 2 3/4. And then how do you even get onto the gym? If like the gym is 2 3/4 and the regular floor is here, it's like the interior designer is going to hate you because you're like, how the hell am I supposed to ramp up to the 2 3/4? So
that might even affect design, right? You couldn't have Olympic lifting, for example, if it was like a high-end hotel, even with 1 3/4, it's really tough to be doing like heavy deadlifts, for example.
It's really tough. It's really tough. Yeah. I don't care who the acoustic consultant is. Because if you drop,
there's only so much they can do.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what they'll tell you because you'll get in someone like you and you're going to deadlift in there and even if you gently put it down, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear it, and it could.
And people don't gently put it down either.
Yeah,
that's a rarity.
And that's being nice. And that's the other thing. People do not care. They'll drop weight. Doesn't matter how many signs there are. Please don't drop the weights. That's your fault. It's not the customer's fault. You know, so you can't be like getting after people, especially if you're talking about high price points like that. So yeah, that's an important thing because there's really, even with Rumble, we did a lot of soundproof boxes, floating floors, like basically air gap with isolators, then lay another layer of concrete.
Pretty expensive, right?
Millions of dollars.
Wow.
Just to soundproof a room, a studio. And imagine you do that and you still get a complaint.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what happens. It happens all the time. People will do what the acoustic person will say. They'll have the foundation. They'll create the isolators. They'll pour concrete, which is still structural taxing on the building itself. And you box it in. You spend $800K, and you get the thick freaking monster tiles for the floor and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden you're playing your music and all stuff. And then the tenant next door goes, hey, we can hear you. And in that
moment, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble because it's never going to end because your business is relying on that. And then they're going to keep calling. And eventually they're going to be like, hey, we're going to sue you. And then you leave or you spend more money with the risk of it still being here. And so all that to understand that when you're in a hotel and even if you're not even thinking about below, you're thinking about the sides and above. In Amsterdam, if you drop something, it was an older building, it would chase up and down the walls. You could you go to the 7th floor and you would hear you'd still see vibrations occurring. So
we've had it in Bangkok for sure. We had to close the location. We did actually have it for 8 years, but in the end, there was too many complaints. And it was sometimes on the 8th floor. We were on the 2nd floor. So it reverberates up through the pillars, which I didn't think at all. I just thought, oh, downstairs is a car park. We're totally fine.
Correct.
Really a huge lesson. But at least we got 8 years. I've heard of gyms in London that had to close after a few months. Yep. Imagine that. You put your all your life savings into it, and then you have to close after a few months. And as soon as you get complaints, you kind of know it's almost the beginning of the end. Really, it's just not going to stop. Especially if you've got 5 a.m. sessions, which we did. Let's talk about flow for a moment. So, what are the considerations? Making sure that the customer flow is good, the member journey is good. What kind of things do you look at there?
I think we we kind of take an approach where we never want someone to be confused. Right? When you walk in, like, do you feel like, even the question of like, am I supposed to check in with this person or not? That's like the number one thing that we'll look at. And we'll try to do that by like mapping the user experience. So even when we have a layout, you kind of like, well, I'll pitch it to you and I'll be like, Jack, walk through my layout. And you'll be like, all right, so I think I enter here and then where are the locker rooms? And I'll be like, oh no, it's over. You just go that way. And you're like, oh, I didn't realize. And I'm like, oh man, that's interesting. Okay, we have to address that. So so that's even like before you even hit the gym floor. If you can't get someone there, then that's a problem. And then finally, when you get out of the locker room, for example, and you hit the gym floor, it happens over, the same experience happens over again. You go, where do I go? Right. So you check in, you're like, hey, am I supposed to say anything? That's why the hospitality component is so important. You want to feel like you're supposed to be here. Hey, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Great. You're doing awesome. Locker rooms over here. Do you want me to walk you there? Or you, yeah, let me get you a water, whatever. You get in the locker room, come out of the locker room. You're going to be by yourself typically. So where do you go? A lot of gyms, people will go right to the treadmill because that's apparent of where that goes. And they'll get on there and then they'll be running and they'll be like this. They'll be like, okay, I guess I'll go over here, over there next. Okay. And it's just really bad. So we try to like have these little landing areas, like close to the locker room, whether you're waiting for your friend, whether you're waiting for a trainer, or you're trying to plan your workout. Right. So we don't want to just stuff all this equipment in right by the locker room where it funnels out. We want to kind of be like, is there like MMA tile or like zebra tile or something like that, or where you can like foam roll and stretch that's like right near the locker room. So you'd be like, okay, I'm going to start here. Or there's even some FF&E, like nicer furniture, not like super nice, but like where there's an amenity counter and you can like take a seat and tie your shoes and look around or plan like that. So that's like one of the main things we focus on is like, where do people go when they get out of the locker room? You know, how do they engage with your gym floor?
It's interesting you should talk about that. I mean, a big part of our process at the Fit Guide is really making sure that, especially new clients, and you know, in a hotel, a lot of people are going to be new, of course, if they're staying for the first time, just making sure you know what's coming up next. And, you know, one of our old guests, Lisa Kika, talks a lot about that in terms of building the experience for Pilates studios and bar studios, yoga studios, is you never want to feel like a bit of an idiot. You know, you always want to feel comfortable. Staff, if they're doing a good job, can spot someone who's looking a bit confused. We do training on that at base. And so a lot of our standards through our process of the Fit Guide is just making sure that you don't, for example, one of our standards is that the station you're on in a Pilates class or a yoga class is assigned, or they let you know that it's free seating, right? Or free choice. So if you go into the yoga studio, you're like, do I go at the front? Do I go at the back? Are there numbers here? I don't want to take anyone's spot. And so there's that moment of where you feel uncomfortable. And so a well-designed journey means you don't feel that at all. Every single thing leads into the next one nicely. So you never have that uncomfortable feeling. And I think if you have 3 or 4 moments when you do feel uncomfortable, you do feel like a bit of an idiot, good chance you're not going to come back, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. One thing I always like think about or come back to is anticipation and generosity are like the 2 things that I think about when I think about hospitality. So like you just said, and I'll never forget this. I was staying at one of the Soho House hotels, and I don't know if you've ever stayed at one, but they have like 6 different body washes and inside there. So one is like, they assume that you're not going to bring your shampoo and conditioner or body wash. That's fine. That's great. So they provide it for you. Not just how the rest of the industry does. They give you more than you could ever need. and it's just standard. And I remember talking to them, and Martin was like, well, why not? Why not? I was like, why do you do that? He goes, why not? And it's just such an interesting thing. It's like you just over deliver, right? You anticipate and then you over deliver. And that's like, that to me is like it's such a great testament. And again, carrying it over. How do you do that in other things and other aspects of operation?
100%. Yeah, we've done a whole episode on anticipatory service. So Matt, the co-founder of the Fit Guide, his background is hospitality, right? And he's worked with a lot of the top hotels. Not sure if Soho House, but Four Seasons, a lot of the big ones. And he talks a lot about anticipatory service, anticipating their needs, seeing what they might need, and being one step ahead. And that's how you create that really wow moment, right? Or something like that. You get a selection of shower gels, different smells, different flavors, and you're like, wow, damn, I've never had this before.
I'm trying all of them in there. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
It's funny. But I never think of another hotel like that does that. So it's kind of cool.
It's a good answer. Why not? No other hotel does it. I've never had that. You get one shower gel, one shampoo, whatever, one conditioner, and that's it. What can you do that no other hotel is doing? I love this kind of framing. I think that leads nicely just into the operational side generally. So yeah, I guess, do you have any, again, you did a post recently, which was interesting. And I fully agreed that some operators, they focus so much on the aesthetics and the equipment, and they really let themselves down in terms of the operations. So one, any sort of thoughts or reflections on that? Two, do you help operators with this, SOPs around hospitality and service, for example?
Well, I'll start with, I'll tell you when I was doing a lot of from like 2016 to 2019 of like the full turnkey kind of like component of concept to pre-opening, I did not like operating spaces. I was like, I really enjoy the creativity and design and troubleshooting to prepare someone that's a great operator. But luckily, I ended up partnering one of a guy on our team named Frank that joined me after like a year of working at Soho House. He's definitely more on the operations side. So he enjoys operating spaces. So it was a really good, kind of team that we started to create, is that we had like this operating kind of like thing. And then we had kind of my side of things, like the concept and design and how it can possibly operate. And then him coming in and be like, cool, here's how you're going to open this space. I find right now it's a lot of people from hospitality or tech or people that are super well financed coming in with zero operations background. Now, I'm a huge on driving into the niche. So like I'm never going to be a management firm as well. So we stop at like 2 weeks, like, or basically like we'll be part of your opening process, but very like high level, high touch or low touch. But there needs to be someone that we hand the baton to. And hopefully it's someone internal, because no one cares more about your operations than that person. But you could do a management company, but I just never think it feels a little bit soulless to me personally. So I've never been really passionate about having a business that designs and manages, because I always feel like there's always going to be someone that's going to be better than you at one. If I spent my entire life doing pull-ups and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do pull-ups and push-ups, it's like the person that's going to be thinking about pull-ups all the time is probably going to outperform me at some point in given time. I think of it like that. I'm like, I think about design and equipment, all that stuff, every moment of my day. I don't think about about management, right? So we help like at a high level in our process. We have like a 9-step process, and the first 3 steps is around concept and how the space will be used in operational consulting, and then we move into the design and technical specifications of, for example, like the flooring or and then design of the equipment and things like that. And then the final 3 steps are around execution, procurement, and install and all that stuff. But yeah, I wish there was a little bit more emphasis and pride in like, hey, we have this great operator who's running all these CrossFits for the past like 10 years. And I have a hospitality background and we're going to fuse it together.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, it doesn't just happen in sort of, hospitality, you almost sort of, or maybe, a condo gym or something like that. You almost think operation, they might not be as strong, but you also see it with boutiques. They just spend fortunes on the lighting and design. It looks incredible. The brand is amazing. And even then you actually go and do a class there and it's starting a few minutes late, the instructor's drinking a coffee when they're doing the class. And you're like, wow, you spent all this money here and you really should have invested in the full experience, pulled a little bit of the cash. And I think often it's just maybe not even thinking it's important, thinking the design is enough. So it's good that you at least have the conversation with the operators to say, hey, let's complete the 5-star experience here. I'm going to do the design for you, but don't forget this.
Yeah. And so we try with that feasibility stuff that we were talking about is like, hey, how much space we should allocate, ceiling height. Like, okay, we gotta like ceiling heights has been coming up more and more. Like people think that they can have a gym at like 8 feet. I don't know what that is. Some meters.
Oh
2.6
wow. Okay.
meters.
Yeah. That's that. Yeah. 2.5.
No,
Not too
no,
high.
no
Yeah.
stair climber immediately off the table. Now we're thinking
Yeah.
about overhead thing. It's like not great.
Yeah.
So that
Even the
happens.
barbell with plates, right? As you go
Correct.
overhead, can be quite
Correct.
high. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that. People don't think about the plates. The plates have like even a 10-pound plate
Yeah. Yeah.
have the range. It gets even someone that's a little bit shorter.
Someone 6'6" with a bumper plate doing an overhead press.
It's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Going through the ceiling.
So yeah, it's good. We do address it, but yeah, we typically don't. But like we'll help like close as we get close. Like we recommend like getting a general manager involved at minimum. This is Frank's rule: 90 days prior to opening, because you want that person to be integrated with the culture, catch up on what's been going on, and then start their recruiting process, and then you want them to run what we would call club school for 2 weeks, which is friends and family, stress testing, CRMs, getting everybody on board. You're building your back of house roster, right? Male, female, so that you have access to both. And so we do help get them like situated. Even if someone that's a little bit more green on the general management side, we can handhold them for those 90 days. Be like, hey, here's what you should be right now.
Okay, nice. What kind of clients do you like working with? What kind of traits do you like? I'm assuming open-minded must be one of them, willing to listen. But yeah, tell me a little, before we wrap up, it'd be good to know the kind of people that really get the most from your services and what you do.
Such a good question. No one's ever, I mean, I think about it a lot. I mean, our kind of pitch is like we work with luxury hospitality and high-end multifamily. So it's developers and hospitality groups. But we will voluntarily be like, hey, we're not the right fit for you guys, because just from what they were saying, it's like, hey, listen, we know we need to have a good gym, want to work with you guys, but we have a tight budget and we need it done in like 60 days. It's like, hey, we're not it. So the best clients I have that we have is people that are just like, they love this, man. And they really believe it's a huge lever for their business. And the third component of it is that like the core group that runs Proper Hotels, like this guy Brad there, he's the owner, and man, he's on the Pacific and I'm on the East Coast. It'll be like 9:45 p.m. on my time on like a Friday, and he'll text me and be like, what's the best glute drive? What do you think is the best glute drive? And I'm like, I hate it, but I love it. I'm like, dude, there's like, this is what you ask for. These people care so much about their gym because they know what it's going to do for their entire business. And so they want to push. People that want to push the industry, those are the people that I'm willing to, that I'll be like, I know it's going to be a hard one with these guys, but I really believe what they're doing. And it's the folks that are like, I can tell they're not really into it. We won't even take them on as a client, even if they're like, hey, well, it just, I'm not inspired by it. And if you just create, I think about the end product too. It's like, am I going to be proud of this? It's like,
can I put it on the website?
We'll pass on it.
Yeah. So. I mean, being the position you're in and being, one of the leaders in the space, it's nice to be able to do that, right? And I think passion is infectious. Just like as a PT, it's great to work with a client that gets really passionate about it. And they're asking you questions and they really get into it. Yeah, no, I can imagine that's the same for gym design as well. Going to finish up, Chris, with 2 questions that we ask every guest. First of all, if you could embed one key principle into the DNA of every fitness club and experience across the globe, what would that key principle be, or key part of the experience that you wish every club was doing?
I think hospitality, or like not hospitality like today, like old school hospitality, like take their coat, put their purse up on a table, not on the ground or hooked on the chair. Like that type of interaction, social interaction, like having hospitality be more analog than digital, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love it. Do you know any gyms or hotels that you'd say are doing that within their fitness experience to the level that you'd like to see?
None that people would like be able like know right off the cuff, like big, but like it's a lot of these like mom and pops that like they have to do it to compete. And those are the people that are like, maybe it's not the nicest gym, but it's like there's something about it that people are like, this is the best gym in the world. And if me and you walked in for like 15 minutes, we'd be like, got it, nothing special. But it's something about that those operators have that are able to compete even with like a large box or whatever. It's that old school hospitality that they know their kids' names. They have events that don't make business sense in the short run, but in the long run, you know, they're meeting their family, their dog, and everything, and it becomes more impactful and sticky. If you could figure out a way to scale the analog hospitality mindset, I think that would be it would help everybody.
Absolutely. Love it. And, you know, one of the things that we teach as well is doing these things doesn't actually cost anything, right? To get a woodway treadmill in costs a lot of money. To get some real fancy turf or some sick, you know, chrome plates can be quite expensive. But actually, these things can be done by anyone. But it just requires that effort and that mindset, I think, which we don't see a lot of it or enough of, I think, in the fitness industry. Finally, Chris, tell us about a time when you've received 5-star hospitality or service. It could be professionally, a business, maybe even in your personal life. And how did that make you feel?
I think it was pretty, honestly, I'm just thinking of something recently. I saw an email come through where we, you know, it wasn't even me. It was a guy on our team. There was Sean and Mark. They worked on this, crafting this email, and the guy responded one line. He goes, "This is awesome. I'm so glad I found you guys." And it was like, awesome. Because one, it wasn't me. It was the guys on my team. And they were able to kind of deliver a standard that I thought was awesome, and something that if you told me 8 years ago that it wouldn't even be me getting the feedback, it was somebody on my team getting the feedback, that's the best. When I hear like someone on the team is like indispensable or, you know, over delivering, that's cool. I don't need the feedback. It'd be great to have these guys get it. So that's what came to my mind when you asked that.
Nice. Love it. Chris, how do people reach out to you and the team if they want to create something truly special and 5-star in the industry?
Yeah. spxgymdesign.com. There's a contact form there. You can also reach out to us at SPX Gym Design on Instagram, or me at Chris Howell 16 on Instagram as well, and get you set up and get you a 5-star facility.
Love it. We will leave links to all of that in the episode notes. It'd be good as well to actually get some links for some of the gym projects you've worked on. We'd love to feature on the Fit Guide as well. We feature some of the world's sexiest and most stunning gym designs. So it'd be good to feature that. And of course, I will see you in about 6 weeks at XFA. It'd be great to dig in. There's a load of questions I didn't get to that I really wanted to. I knew it'd be the way. So let's connect there and we can dig further into this as well. But thank you, Chris, for sharing. I really appreciate it. And thank you for your time.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.